Well, I think it's definitely becoming more and more apparent where the Calgary Hitmen are in terms of where the team's at and their talent level and their compete level here as you look ahead to this upcoming game segment here. Anyway, let's time to bring on another episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 6 here. Up season 2, this is episode number 8 here as it's time to look at talking about games 37 to 42 here. However, the WHL Trade Deadline also occurred during this segment here. And Jeff Schmelth, the general manager of the Calgary Hitmen, he actually is the son of Ed Schmelth, the former commissioner, and the cup is named after. He was very busy as he actually made 3 separate transactions there. So I'll talk about that in this video here. So make sure you follow and subscribe and hit that bell icon to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey here. This is the meat and potatoes I do with on my YouTube channel as I recap the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here. But I also do some personal vlogs and attempt at comedy here. And actually, I recently reviewed Diet Coke Extra. It was the first time I did kind of a product food review, so maybe I'll toss some of that in once in a while. So just follow along if it sounds like anything you would enjoy watching here. And the deep freeze is over. That's why the last few videos I've had, there was definitely a lot more content, and I was wearing a toque there because when you're inside, you definitely need to occupy yourself here. So let's get to the game recap here. As I say, we'll talk about games 37 to 42 here, as now we're heading into the final third of the WHL season here. Keep in mind it's 68 games, unlike 82 for the NHL here. So we're definitely in the final third of the season here, and what I'll do after recapping the games and the trades here is we'll take a look at the standings just like I did in the last episode of my Calgary Flames in 6, just to see where everybody's at and gloss over potential playoff matchups here. So let's start it off here. So game 37. This happened on Sunday, January the 5th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Moose Jaw Warriors at home at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And that was a 4 p.m. puck drop here. Third game of the weekend, but against a weaker opponent here. So this definitely, what I was referring to in the opening here is that you'll see teams that we play that we do very well on, but they're below us in the standings, and then yet our rivals, we definitely seem to struggle with them. So as I say, Carson Fook for the Calgary Hitmen actually scores very early in the game. In fact, 41 seconds in on an early power play. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead, and it was 1-0 for Calgary after the first period here. The game had a slower pace to begin with, but Calgary asserted their dominance the rest of the way. And the bulk of the scoring actually happened in the second period here. It was very busy here. First, Riley Fitter-Schultz for the Calgary Hitmen past the 4.5 minute mark, and then Cale Zimmerman just under 2 minutes later. So Calgary had a 3-0 lead at the 6.5 minute mark of the second period there. Mark Kaslick added another for the Calgary Hitmen, and it was his 21st of the season here, 2 minutes later. And Adam Kidd for Calgary. So it was 5-0 Calgary just past the 13 minute mark of the second period here. Moose Jaw did get on the board, but 2 goals late in the second period. First, Ryder Korzak just before the 17.5 minute mark, and Braden Tracy in the final minute. So Calgary had a 5-2 lead at the second period there. So 6 goals in total were scored in the second period here. Calgary continued their dominance going into the third period here with 2 more goals. Josh Prokop just before the 1.5 mark. So Josh Prokop scored early in the third period. And Evan Toth just past the 14 minute mark for Calgary. And Calgary takes this one with a convincing 7-2 victory here over the Moose Jaw Warriors. Calgary also outshot the Moose Jaw Warriors 39-18 here, including 20-6 in that busy second period there. Despite all the offense, only one Hitman player had a multi-point game. That was defenseman Luke Prokop, who chipped in with 3 assists from the blue line there. Moose Jaw had a 2-assist performance from Owen Hardy, their captain here. So when it comes to the goaltending here, it was Braden Peters that was in net for Calgary. He made 16 saves. Excuse me. While the Moose Jaw Warriors, they had Adam Ednoff. He did start He made 23 saves, and he was pulled after allowing the 6th goal there. And then it was Jackson Berry for Moose Jaw that came in relief and made 9 saves the rest of the way there. So that was game 37 here. Now, the trade deadline happened on Friday, January the 10th. And I said the Calgary Hitmen made 3 separate trades here. So let's follow along here. Who's coming, who's going, all that wonderful stuff here. So the 3 trades were made on the Friday here. So the first trade that the Calgary Hitmen made was between Calgary and Everett, the Everett Silvertips. Coming here to Calgary was Conrad Mitchell and a 6th round 2020 Bantam draft pick. Going to the Everett Silvertips is Hunter Campbell. So Hunter Campbell is leaving to go to Everett while we get Conrad Mitchell and a 6th round pick in this upcoming 2020 WHL Bantam draft here. That was trade number 1. Trade number 2. This time we swung a deal with the Spokane Chiefs here. Coming here to Calgary is a forward. Also, Conrad Mitchell is also a forward. So forward Connor Gabruch is coming here to Calgary. While going to Spokane is a 5th round pick in the 2020 Bantam draft. So Connor Gabruch is coming here, and we give up a 2020 draft pick in the 5th round to Spokane there. That was trade number 2 here. Trade number 3 here, Calgary swung a deal with the Kelowna Rockets here. Calgary gets a 5th round pick, but in 2021, so next year, now we're in 2020. Going to Kelowna here, it was a guy we drafted in the import draft forward, Jonas Petrick here, as we acquired 2 forwards here, so we had extra forwards here. So Jonas Petrick is going to Kelowna here to enjoy the Okanagan Valley here, and I understand. I think Kelowna is actually hosting the Memorial Cup this year, so you'll get to play in the Memorial Cup as the host here. So those were the 3 trades here. So basically, Jonas Petrick and Hunter Campbell are leaving Calgary, while we get Conrad Mitchell and Connor Gabruch. So the new players in the program here. Connor Gabruch is number 17. And Conrad Mitchell is number 26 here. And also the fact that we also made that trade in the last episode where we traded away James Malm, and he was going to the Tri-City Americans, and we also gave up a couple draft picks. And we got Carl Olsen, and he's number 16, but he hasn't played yet for the Calgary Hitmen. So that was a busy trade deadline day as Calgary Hitmen made 3 separate trades here. So after all those trading, let's get back to the games here. So game 38, this happened on Friday, January 10th here. We were taking on the Lethbridge Hurricanes at home here. None of the new Hitmen obviously made their debuts as all those trades happened on that day here, including Carl Olsen. Carl Olsen, as mentioned, has not made his Hitman debut yet here. So both teams opened up the scoring early here. First, it was Lethbridge that opened up the scoring in the opening minute by Noah Boyko, and Calgary did tie it up 2 minutes later as Josh Prokop, so we had a 1-1 game here. In fact, it actually stayed 1-1 until the 3rd period here, so the goals came early in the 1st period, and we did not see any scoring until the 3rd period here. However, Lethbridge all season has definitely had their number, and they're definitely the better team here. But Calgary was able to play up to them, but not until the 3rd period here. Lethbridge did go ahead 2-1 just before the 2-minute mark, as Dino Kembitz scores for Calgary, or for Lethbridge here. However, Calgary was able to tie it up at the 6.5-minute mark by Riley Stotts here. However, Alex Cotton for the Lethbridge Hurricanes puts Lethbridge back up at the 12-minute mark by Alex Cotton here. And then just before the 14-minute mark, some rough stuff to highlight here, as Calgary's Jackson Van de Leest and both defensemen Jackson Van de Leest and Jet Wu here, with Lethbridge Justin Hall and Coltrane Russell all took coincidental roughing minors. However, it was Jackson Van de Leest that took the double minor and got a game misconduct penalty. No goals came out of that power play there, so the game stayed 3-2, but Lethbridge were outplaying Calgary all of the 3rd period here. However, we were still looking for the equalizer here. Lethbridge, though, did put it away with the empty netter as all for Okular. His goal came at 17 seconds left in the game here. So Lethbridge was up 4-2, and they ultimately took this game 4-2 here. Lethbridge also shot Calgary 34-24 in this one, including 12-5 in the 3rd period here. So definitely took this one on the chin here. Calgary was led by Mark Kaslick. He actually had 2 assists in this game here, so he assisted on both goals for Calgary. Lethbridge was led by Noah Boyko. He had a goal and 2 assists here. So when it comes to the goaltending here, it was Braden Peters who was in for Calgary. He made 30 saves, while Karchelyuk made 22 saves for Lethbridge here. So that was the Lethbridge Hurricanes. That's one of the teams that definitely seems to have our number here and is in the top 3 in the Central Division here. So now, game 39, this happened on Sunday, January 12th here. We were taking on the Swift Current Broncos at home here to wrap up the homestand here. This is actually the first back-to-back home and home here, and this is another opponent that we should be able to get points on, is because Calgary has been the better team on paper here compared to the Swift Current Broncos here. And Calgary did open up very strong, but no scoring in the first period though. But we also outshot the Swift Current Broncos 16-8 here. So that was the first period here. And both Connor Gabruch and Conrad Mitchell made their Calgary Hitmen debuts here. The second period, Calgary scored all of the goals within 5-minute frame here in the second period. First, before the 6-minute mark, it was Orca Weisblad. He got his 14th goal of the season. Then Blake Allen just before the 7.5-minute mark for Calgary. And then recently acquired Connor Gabruch just before the 11-minute mark. And Calgary led 3-0 after the second period there. Swift Current did get one in the third by Jackson Kaluski, and he spells it Jaxan. What an interesting name there. Just past the 8-minute mark. But that was all the scoring in this one. So Calgary takes the first game against the Swift Current Broncos 3-1 here. Just before they head out on a 5-game road trip here, including the first one with the Swift Current Broncos after this game. Calgary also shot the Swift Current Broncos 45-25 overall here, including the 16-8 in the first period as previously mentioned, and they also shot them 19-7 in the second period there. Blake Allen led the way for Calgary with a goal and assist, and new Hitmen each actually got a point and penalties in this game here, as Connor Gabruch got the goal, Conrad Mitchell got an assist in their debuts, and both took minor penalties there, so they definitely made their presence known on the score sheet there. Braden Peters for Calgary made 24 saves, while Isaiah DeLaura made 42 saves for the Swift Current Broncos here. So that was game 39 here. Game 40 here, this actually happened on Wednesday, January the 15th, as now the Calgary Hitmen are on the road in Swift Current here at the Innovation Credit Union iPlex at the 6 p.m. puck drop here. This was the second of back-to-back home and home and the start of the 5-game road trip for the Calgary Hitmen. Calgary once again showed their dominance. However, the Swift Current Broncos actually had better luck at home this time. And it was actually an entertaining finish in this game here as well. Actually, first Calgary did open up the scoring just under 2.5 minutes in as Carson Fook. This was his 20th of the season here. And Calgary had a 1-0 lead here. Swift Current did tie things up 4 minutes later as by D-J. That was D-J, that's how he spells the name, Jerome, for Swift Current, and actually took the lead after DJ Jerome's goal here, past the 13.5-minute mark by Jackson Kaluski. So Swift Current actually had a 2-1 lead after the first period here, but Calgary did outshoot the Swift Current Broncos 19-9 here. Second period, Calgary did have lots of power play time as Swift Current found themselves in penalty trouble here, but they could not tie it up here, and then that insult to injury, actually Swift Current got another goal at the 13-minute mark by Jackson Kaluski. So Swift Current had a 3-1 lead, and it was 3-1 Swift Current after the second period here. I should also note that Riley Viller-Schultz for Calgary took a 10-minute misconduct for cross-checking late in the second period there. Third period, Calgary continued to dominance, but it wasn't until past the 11-minute mark that Cale Zimmerman scored for Calgary to make it 3-2 there. So it was 3-2 Swift Current at that point here at the 11-minute mark of the third period here. Calgary was able to complete the comeback as Carson Fook scored just past the 15.5-minute mark. So it was 3-3 there at that point here. Calgary kept pressing, but they could not get the go-ahead goal. So as I always like to say, this one needed overtime here. Calgary in the third period alone actually outshot the Swift Current Broncos 21-2 here. So they at least got the 2 goals to tie it up here and force this one in overtime here. In overtime, there was no scoring here, so as I like to say, this one needed a shootout here. And Swift Current did actually have a power play in the overtime here, but Calgary was able to kill it off here. In the shootout here, it's Swift Current that starts off as the home team here. It was Sergei Akinov who was up for the Swift Current Broncos, but he missed here. First round of the shootout for Calgary was Josh Prokop, and he scored here. So now into the second round here, DJ Jerome missed for the Swift Current, and Orca Weisblad missed for Calgary in the second round. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead in the shootout here, which meant that all the game came down to the stick of Jackson Kaluski here to keep the shootout going. However, he missed here, so Calgary ultimately came back from behind and won this game by getting 2 goals in the third period here and win this one in the shootout 4-3 here. Calgary massively outshot the Swift Current Broncos overall here, 52 to 20. It was 53 to 22 here overall, including 2-1 edge in overtime there. Calgary was led by away with Carson Fook. He had 2 goals here. And Josh Prokop had 2 assists as well as the shootout winner here. Swift Current was led by Jackson Kaluski with 2 goals here. And D-J Jerome had a goal and assist there. So that was who led the way for both teams there. Jack Manon, he made 19 saves for the Calgary Hitmen here. While it was Isaac Puche who made 50 saves for the Swift Current Broncos here. Both goalies definitely saw a lot of Hitman shots here. So to continue on this road trip here, Game 41, this happened on Friday, January 17th, as the Calgary Hitmen are playing their first of their 3 games in Manitoba here at the Westobia Place, 6:30 puck drop here. Brandon did open up the scoring orderly here as Duncan Pierce scores just past the 10.5 minute mark here. Then Brandon did get another goal in the final 30 seconds as Jack Chison makes it 2-0 here, so Brandon had a 2-0 lead after the first period here. Calgary was able to get back into the second period here, but it wasn't until Josh Prokop just before the 17-minute mark. So Calgary cut the lead down for Brandon to 2-1 here. So that's how things stood after the second period. It was 2-1 for Brandon. Late in the second period there, let's highlight with some more rough stuff here. It's Dakota Krebs, Riley Stotts, and Orca Weisblad for Calgary, while Cole Reinhardt and Don Schimmerman from Brandon were all involved and got 10-minute misconducts here. But it was Riley Stotts that took the extra unsportsmanlike penalty, and all this happened at the 18:52 mark of the second period here. The game actually stayed 2-1 here, and it wasn't until Brandon got an empty net goal from Nithian Salami at the final minute here. So Brandon won this one 3-1 here. Brandon also had the edge in shots, 34-31 here. Braden Peters for Calgary, he made 31 saves for Calgary, obviously, and then Yuri Petura made 30 saves for Brandon here. So things didn't start off good in Manitoba here. So game 42, this happened the next night on Saturday, January the 18th here, as the Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Winnipeg Ice in Winnipeg for the first time here at the Wayne Fleming Arena here, 6:30 puck drop here. And yes, it's named after that Wayne Fleming here, as he used to be an assistant coach in the NHL here, and he couldn't spend a couple seasons here in Calgary here, and I believe he died fortunately of brain cancer in 2011, I believe. So, he is named after that same Wayne Fleming here. So this was the first visit in Winnipeg and back-to-back weekend series here. So, and Winnipeg definitely had a big, strong first period here. At first, it was Nolan Orszak who opens up the scoring just before the 7-minute mark. And then Winnipeg Tepley makes it 2-0 Winnipeg just before the 14-minute mark. And Jacob Smallwood just before the 70-minute mark. So the Winnipeg Ice had a 3-0 lead here after the first period here. Second period, Winnipeg continued their dominance, and things definitely got worse before it got better here. It was 2 goals by Peyton Krebs just before the 4-minute mark and the 7-minute mark. So after 7 minutes in the second period here, the Winnipeg Ice had a 5-0 lead here. However, Calgary did get the next 2 goals, both by Riley Stotts, his 18th and the 19th of the season here. Actually 18 seconds apart here at the 11-minute mark. So at this point, it was now 5-2 for the Winnipeg Ice here. So things definitely did not look as bad at this point here. But Winnipeg still had a 5-2 lead going into the third period here. But before we get into the Third period here, we should also mention that Mark Kastler for Calgary and Liam Hughes, who is the goaltender for the Winnipeg Ice here, both took unsportsmanlike penalties here, so a little more rough stuff here. Third period, there was actually no scoring to Port here, so Winnipeg, on the strength of a great first half of the game here, won this one 5-2 here. It was the Calgary that actually outshot the Winnipeg Ice 39-32 here, and these teams will actually play each other again the next night here. But that game won't be until the next episode here, because this is the last game of this recap here. So Calgary was led away by Carson Fook with his 2 goals here. Winnipeg was led by Peyton Krebs with 2 goals. Isaac Johnson and Owen Peterson each chipped in with 2 assists here. As well, Michel Tepley had a goal and assist, all for the Winnipeg Ice here. It was Jack Minotton who was in net for the Calgary Hitmen. He made 27 saves here. While it was Liam Hughes for the Winnipeg Ice, he made 37 saves here. So where the Calgary Hitmen stand after 42 games, going into the final third of the season here, as it's a 68-game season, and we have played up to 42 games here. Well, the Calgary Hitmen have 22 wins, 19 losses, 4 overtime losses, and 1 shootout loss here. So that gives them 49 points on the season here, which puts them 4th in the Pacific, or the, no, this is Hitmen, not Flames, 4th in the Central Division here, but they're in the first Eastern Conference wildcard here, but they're 10 points behind Lethbridge just to get in the top 3 here. So before we look ahead to the next 6 games here, let's just take a look at the standings here, shall we, as I queue up hitmanhockey.com. This is where you get all your information about our junior team here. So I'll just let it load up here. So let's take a look at the standings here and potentially gloss over some potential playoff matchups here. Actually, first we'll start in the Eastern Conference. So we'll go from east to west here. Where actually how its standings go, well, starts west, it goes out east here. So in the U.S. division, the top 3, first place is the Portland Winterhawks. After 43 games, they have 69 points here. Second place is the Everett Silvertips. After 42 games, they have 59 points. And then rounding out the top 3 in the U.S. division, the Spokane Chiefs have 51 points in 43 games here. So looking at the BC division here, the Kamloops Blazers are in first place. They have 61 points in 43 games. Second place was the Victoria Royals. They have 53 points in 43 games. And then the Kelowna Rockets round up the top 3. They have 45 points in 43 games here. So the 2 wild cards in the Western Conference here is the Vancouver Giants. They have 42 points in 41 games. And the Seattle Thunderbirds, they have 39 points in 42 games. The first team that's outside looking in is the Tri-City Americans. They have 33 points in 42 games. So they're 6 points behind Seattle to get into the final playoff spot in the Western Conference here. So potential playoff matchups here. Well, since Portland has the better record in the Western Conference here, Portland in this case would take on the Seattle Thunderbirds here. So it'll be a nice divisional rivalry right there, as well geographically. And then Everett would host the Spokane Chiefs here. And then the Kamloops Blazers, they would be hosting the Vancouver Giants here. And then you got the Victoria Royals hosting the Kelowna Rockets here in the BC part 2 and 3 there. So those are the potential matchups here as we're looking going down to the final third of the season here. And as I say, Kelowna actually is hosting the Memorial Cup this year, so they'll be in the big show either way here. So that's the Western Conference side of the things for standings here. So now let's take a look at the Eastern Conference here, starting with the Central Division. Well, the Edmonton Oil Kings lead the way. After 45 games, they have 67 points here. Second place is the Medicine Hat Tigers. After 43 games, they have 60 points. Then in third place, it's the Lethbridge Hurricanes. They have 59 points in 44 games here. That's the top 3 in the Central Division. In the Eastern Division here, actually the Winnipeg Ice lead the way. They have 55 points in 43 games. Second place is the Prince Albert Raiders. They have 54 points in 45 games. And then the Brandon Wheat Kings are in third place. They're on the top 3 in the East Division in the Eastern Conference. They have 51 points in 44 games here. So now when it comes to the wild cards here, As mentioned, the first wild card goes to the Calgary Hitmen. They have 49 points in 42 games, and then the final wild card is the Saskatoon Blades. They have 47 points in 43 games here. But I think both Calgary and Saskatoon are very comfortable not worrying about losing their wildcard spots here, because the next team that's out, and I think that's where the cutoff line is the Red Deer Rebels. They have 35 points in 43 games, so the Red Deer Rebels are 12 points behind the Saskatoon Blades just to get in the playoff picture here. So I think I'm a little more set on the 8 teams that will be going to the playoffs in the Eastern Conference here. So there will be at least a series preview and series recap video here. I'll almost going to guarantee it for the Calgary Hitmen. Well, looking at the Western Conference here, I say maybe the Tri-City Americans have an outside shot here, but they got some work to do as there's 26 games left for the case of the Calgary Hitmen here. So now as I tee up potential playoff matchups here, the Edmonton Oil Kings have the best record in the Western Conference here. So the Edmonton Oil Kings will host the Saskatoon Blades here. And then the 2-3 matchup would have the Medicine Hat Tigers hosting the Lethbridge Hurricanes here for a little Crow's Nest Highway battle there. And in the East Division here, the Winnipeg Ice actually would be hosting the Calgary Hitmen. So that would definitely be a long, brutal series for travel here, because this will probably be a 2-3-2 thing where I'm sure Winnipeg, if this happened, I think pretty sure Winnipeg would host the first 2 games, and then Calgary would host the next 3, and then Winnipeg would host the next 2 just because of the bus travel here. But that's something to keep in mind here if we draw Winnipeg in the first round here. And then the 2-3 matchup would be Prince Albert and Brandon here, so definitely there'll be lots of travel here. And then, yeah, that'll be it. So we could be taking on the Winnipeg Ice here, and that's who we're playing right now here. So that's just a quick look at the standings here and potential playoff matchups here. So I think we're likely going to be in a wild card spot either way here. Not too sure where we want. Do we want the Edmonton Oil Kings or do we want the Winnipeg Ice here? I almost would rather take our chances with the Winnipeg Ice if I were to pick it right now. So let's try to avoid the second wildcard spot here, and I think we're too far behind to get in the top 3 here. So, but a lot could still change in the final third of the season here. But figure that's something I'll do here. So now the final part of this episode here. Let's take a look at the next 6 games here as we get down into the final stretch drive here. Believe it or not, 2 months from now the season wraps up, and then we'll start talking about playoffs and who actually will be playing each other. So that's why I brought up the standings here. So looking ahead here, Game 43 just happened on Sunday, January 19th here. The Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Winnipeg Ice again. It will be a 6-3 puck drop at the Wayne Fleming Arena there. And then Game 44 here, Calgary will wrap up their 5-game road trip. This will be on Saturday, January the 25th here. The Calgary Hitmen will be in Red Deer to take on the Red Deer Rebels at the Western Deer Park Centrium, 7 p.m. puck drop here. And then on Game 45 will be on the next day. On Sunday, January 26th, the Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Red Deer Rebels again, this time at home at the Scotiabank Saddledome. That'll be a 2 p.m. puck drop here. And in Game 46 here, Calgary will have a special Wednesday night edition game here on Wednesday, January 29th. The Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Winnipeg Ice at home against the... that'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, and I'm going to say potential first-round playoff preview. And then Game 47 here will be on Friday, January 31st here. Maybe another potential first-round playoff matchup preview, as the Calgary Hitmen will be hosting the Brandon Wheat Kings. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then Game 48, we're definitely going to be rebelled out here, as on Saturday, February the 1st here, the Calgary Hitmen will be at home hosting the Red Deer Rebels, and this will be a 1:30 puck drop here against the Red Deer Rebels here. So looking at the schedule here, it should actually get a little easier here if we can do the second half effort against the Winnipeg Ice here. We should be able to play with them here, and same with the Brandon Wheat Kings here. There were a couple of close games there, and then Red Deer, definitely they're far out here. Hopefully those some points that we can take advantage of to start jockeying up for playoff position here. So yeah, that's definitely the latest episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 6 here, and definitely was a lot of trades here, and I think the strength of schedule is definitely showing where the Calgary Hitmen are at right now, and I think we're destined to make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure we'll make the playoffs, but we're likely going to be in the wild card here. So yeah, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, I'm a Calgary sports fan, and do all the Calgary game stories and recaps of Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along. That bell icon will also tell you as soon as I upload something. But I also recently here, especially with this cold snap, but now it's over, hence the hat again, that I definitely did a lot more personal vlogs. I actually threw out a attempt at comedy there, so I also do that. And I shared my experiences at sporting events. I mean, there were definitely a couple Hitman games that I captured on my smartphone, Stampeder games, Grey Cup, that as well on holidays there. So that's all the stuff that's on my channel here. So there's definitely a lot of variety to follow along to this Calgary sports fan journey here. So as I always say, let's go Hitmen, and I'll see you in the next video or next episode, depending on which videos you like to watch on my channel here. So I'll see you then.